Good evening, I'm Jason Vio. Katerina is away tonight. This is CBC Windsor News. Thank you so much for watching. Here's what's making news tonight. Some movement on the dispute between Stellantis, LG Energy Solutions, and upper levels of government. The province of Ontario is now stepping in, taking some action. Plus, Ontario's NDP leader in Windsor today, and what she's taking back with her to Queen's Park is a concern over paramedic delays in our region. And the new downtown supervised drug consumption site has been open for nearly a month, and officials say they're seeing an increasing number of people using it. Another shift today in the push to keep the electric vehicle battery plant right here in Windsor. Premier Doug Ford says the province is coming forward with more money. The CBC's Dale Molnar has the latest.
I will confirm we're putting more money on the table there. This is all about saving jobs and giving people the quality of life they deserve in southwestern Ontario.
This was Doug Ford responding to reporter questions this morning at an event in St. Catharines. While he was offering no details as to how much money, the news comes as a welcome relief to many in the city and the auto industry. Drew Dilkins tweeting, "The increased financial commitment from #FordNation is a step in the right direction for the federal government and Stellantis to finalize the deal. The city remains proactive in gathering information to extend assistance to stop the uncertainty." Flavio Volpe, the president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, adding, "Premier at Ford Nation stepping up to keep the Stellantis EV battery plant is on brand. Happy long weekend, Windsor." And this from Ontario NDP leader Marit Stiles. After days of raising the fate of the Stellantis deal in the legislature, it is a very positive step to finally see Ford taking responsibility and come to the table for the people of Windsor, Essex. Earlier this week, most of construction was paused at the battery plant, a spokesperson saying the federal government hadn't kept its promises in negotiations. At issue are tax credits offered in the United States, the Inflation Reduction Act offering billions to automakers building these types of plants on that side of the border. Ottawa reopened negotiations because of the IRA and said this week Ontario needed to pay its fair share, but the province was pushing back against putting more money on the table.
Ontario has done a deal with Stellantis identical to the deal we did with Volkswagen, and I mean identical in every way.
And Windsor-Tecumseh MPP Andrew Dowie, who said this week they didn't have the resources to compete with the Americans in luring business, today says the province was committed to saving the plant.
But I'm looking forward to seeing a resolution. The province has made it clear that we are there to be part of the solution.
Federal Industry Minister François-Philippe Champagne said today he feels confident in reaching a deal and that Premier Ford's comments this morning are a sign of progress.
I also took the opportunity earlier this week to have dinner with the president of LG Energy Solution in Korea. Actually, we had a dinner for more than 2 hours and he even wrote back to me this morning. I think we have a common understanding about the way forward.
Unifor President Lana Payne was encouraged with Ford's statement today, but says she won't breathe easy until the deal is signed and finalized.
There are plans for electric vehicles in Windsor. There are plans for electric vehicles in Brampton. And so the message was, if this obviously couldn't work and we couldn't get this together, there was risk to all of this, including the entire footprint here.
A spokesperson for Stellantis tells CBC News the company is not commenting today. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
What some describe as an EMS crisis has now caught the attention of provincial politicians who want the Ford government to do more. CBC Windsor's Jennifer LaGrassa reports.
What we've seen government after government do in healthcare is apply Band-Aids to a just massive gaping wound that's getting worse and worse.
Outside of Windsor Regional Hospital's emergency room, NDP leader Marit Stiles demanded the government do more to address an increasing number of code blacks in the region. This is when there are no ambulances available to respond to an emergency. Earlier this week, Essex Town Council agreed to push the government to do a full review of the region's hospital and EMS systems.
This has been a well-known issue, and everybody sitting around the table needs to come and provide a solution because my community is at risk.
Within the first 3 months of this year, Windsor Essex has been in code black for more than 100 minutes, and a code red, which is when there are 2 or fewer ambulances available, for more than 800 minutes. The paramedic union says it frequently uses Chatham-Kent ambulances. Last Monday, 5 of Chatham-Kent's 9 transport ambulances were tied up in this region. There are some strategies in place to deal with this, such as designating paramedics and nurses to offload patients, and a program where paramedics can treat people in the community. But Stiles says more needs to be done.
Some of that does require us to do things like invest in primary care so people don't get sick. So we are making sure that long-term care, home care is working better so that people don't get as sick and end up in hospital sooner. But we have to start to address the fact that what we're seeing in most of our hospitals, our paramedic services is a human resource crisis.
Our paramedics are exhausted. We are exhausted due to chronic understaffing.
James Jovanovic, head of the paramedic union, told CBC News last week that the service could use another 50 EMS workers. Conservative MPP Andrew Dowie says they have strategies in place to help and that he would appreciate hearing from people if there's more that's needed.
When Essex Windsor EMS needs help, our office is there to take the call and to bring the issue back up. And we haven't gotten a call for a number of months now.
Windsor Regional Hospital said no one was available to comment today, but a spokesperson said that this week EMS call volume was low and there have been no code blacks. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
Nearly a month after opening, health officials say the number of clients using SafePoint is what they've expected. As of Wednesday, the supervised drug consumption site had 43 people visit. The health unit says 26 people consumed a substance on site, and staff haven't needed to reverse an overdose there. Staff have also made 14 referrals to other agencies for services such as mental health, housing, and medical attention. And one of the main hurdles at the very beginning, they say, has been for staff to establish trust of the people who are coming in. There's an upcoming show in Windsor called the Drag Lip Sync Battle Royale. And while one of the judges was putting up a poster about it, they experienced homophobia.
That little blip of time that happened to me last week where someone ripped my poster and tried to light it on fire, that actually set me on fire because I was like, I feel more like enthralled to actually make a difference and to stand up for people that are just like me.
Matthew Levesque, whose drag name is Lua, says it happened in downtown Windsor last week around 10 in the morning. Today, they did a brief reenactment of what happened as a way to raise awareness about the issue and the upcoming show. Although it was a bit of a frightening experience, Lewis says it also turned into something empowering.
I'm autistic myself. I am also a drag queen. I'm non-binary. I'm gay. I have so many intersections to my identity, and I'm not letting these people who have no idea who our community is take me down because I am strong in myself, and that's all there is to it. You just got to love yourself first and find your community. As a queer person, we're always looking over our shoulder to go in defense mode and see if there is potential threat. So we're looking for any potential passerbys that might make a derogatory comment towards the drag community or trans people. But at that point in time, I didn't feel it was necessary to call the police because not only did I not want to get involved, but I also thought I can handle this on my own. I don't need to involve other people. I'm strong in myself. I'm a very independent person and I know who I am. So I felt like that wasn't necessarily what I needed to do. Something called the tenets of drag. So essentially, these are kind of like statements that we created as a team from the Lip Sync Battle Royale to tell the public what the drag community needs so that we can feel protected and we can feel safe. So for example, there are drag as an art form, drag is an expression of love. We're not going anywhere, and drag is here to stay.
After yesterday's big breakup news, we're learning Peel isn't the only region in Ontario that could be split up. The province introduced legislation to divide Peel into 3 independent municipalities: Brampton, Mississauga, and Caledon. Lorenda Redekop has more on what changes could be coming in the GTA and beyond.
A day after the province announced the first step to break up Peel region into 3 separate municipalities, the Premier says he's hearing from other parts of the province.
I'll tell you, the phone calls have been ringing off the hook with other mayors saying, hey, I want my independence.
But he wouldn't say who's called.
Well, I'm not going to name names. That's not fair to them. But everyone wants to, call their own shots per se, and I don't disagree with them.
Here are the 6 other regions the province plans to take a look at. All the other GTA municipalities outside Toronto, Halton, Durham and York regions, plus Waterloo Region, Niagara and Simcoe County. Regional facilitators will be named in the coming weeks to look at whether any of them should be split up. So far, the heads of Durham, Waterloo, Simcoe and Niagara say a regional government is working there. But Niagara's regional chair still sees a point to the province appointing a facilitator.
They're primarily interested in having housing units built. And what I think the facilitator will do in our area, as may be the case in some of the other areas, is simply try to determine the best way to get the homes built that they want built.
A question mark is what could happen with York Region. It has bigger cities. Vaughan and Markham both have more than 300,000 people. Their mayors were not available for an interview today. In a statement, York's chair says the region welcomes working with the province and all 9 cities and towns to consider the best mix of roles and responsibilities. The region is also a neighbor to Peel. He says they'll evaluate how its dissolution could affect York, including with transit, water and emergency services. One Liberal MPP wonders how Peel's coming split could affect taxpayers in the rest of the province.
That's great. What can't happen is that it can't be taxpayers and residents of every other city of Ontario that's paying for Peel to be made whole. If Peel wants to have a divorce, that's fine. The residents of Peel need to pay for that.
Clarity on that could take a while. A transition board still to be appointed will make recommendations, set to come in around a year and a half. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
The Prime Minister and global leaders at the G7 summit today in Japan are calling for a world without nuclear weapons. Russia's war against Ukraine dominated the agenda. Members voted to expand sanctions targeting those who help fuel Moscow's war machine, including a warning that countries helping Russia will face severe costs. The group issued a call to Russia to end the war and to commit to a world without nuclear weapons. The Ukrainian president arrives in Japan tomorrow. Leaders from various Arab nations are gathered today in Saudi Arabia for a regional summit, but the world's attention is focused on presidents from 2 countries in attendance. One returning after being suspended from the Arab League for more than a decade. The other is the leader of a country at war with Russia right now. Abby Kuathasan has that story.
The return of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to the world stage after being shunned for more than a decade by his regional counterparts for his government's crackdown during the Arab Spring and alleged war crimes during the Syrian civil war. The host of this year's summit welcomed him with open arms. While the 22-member organization was not unanimous in its decision, the League sees engaging with Assad as a way to ensure his country does not continue to destabilize the region.
You have a strategic stalemate. On the one hand, regime backers and regime have managed to regain control of most of the country. You have a West which is not interested in Syria because it's not a priority for them, except for refugee crisis for Europe.
About 5.5 million Syrian refugees live in 5 neighboring countries, and anti-refugee sentiment is growing in some places. And the League is also looking to curb the Syrian drug trade, which the EU and US say provides billions to the Assad regime. Many in Syria are outraged by their president's presence at the summit, fearful the invite legitimizes him and erases his crimes.
Authoritarian leaders like Putin and others, definitely they will be happy with what they are seeing today in Jeddah.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was also at the summit and brought his country's concerns to Arab leaders.
And I'm here so that everyone can take an honest look, no matter how hard the Russians try to influence. There must still be independence.
Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman says he's prepared to mediate the Russia-Ukraine conflict, but some worry how a league that now appears to have put the crimes of Syria's leader behind them will deal with Russian aggression in Ukraine. Abby Kualdasan, CBC News, London.
The threatened WestJet airline strike is over before it even started. The company and the pilots' union reached a tentative deal last night, narrowly averting a strike that was to start today. The The deal gives both sides some of what they wanted. At issue were pay and scheduling concerns. Pilots are expected to officially accept the deal early next week. Today, most travelers are relieved, with the exception of the hundreds whose flight had been preemptively canceled. WestJet advises travelers to check the status of your flight before you show up at the airport as they work to rebook and reschedule. Back here in Windsor, people are celebrating 519 Day. The area code is a point of pride for southwestern Ontario. There are things planned at places right across our city today to celebrate, and why not show your love permanently? Heather Thibert designed these tattoos highlighting some of Windsor's favorite things: pizza, roses, and a bottle of Canadian Club. You can pop by Windsor Eats tonight to get a Windsor-themed tattoo on the spot. $60 for a mini piece of ink to show your love for the area. Still to come here on CBC Windsor News live at 6, a super sunny and warm forecast up ahead. We'll have all of those details for you coming up next. Officials in Alberta are asking residents to restrict outdoor activities and stay vigilant heading into this long weekend in the hopes they can help reduce the risk of wildfire. There are 92 fires burning in parts of Alberta and 26 are deemed out of control. 12 provincial parks have been closed to lessen the risk of fires starting and spreading. Fire bans have also been put into place for close to 300 provincial parks and recreation areas. Nearly 2,700 firefighters, including members of the Canadian military and crews from other provinces and the U.S., are assisting. And losses are piling up for many people in parts of the prairies from those wildfires, but there's also some positive news to emerge from the devastation. A father and son team from northern Saskatchewan with firefighting experience sprang into action to save their beloved family cabin and 30 years of memories. The CBC's Jesse Anton has that story.
Clarence McCollum snapped this photo of his father Louis as they worked to save their family cabin near Buffalo Narrows. It's been in the family nearly 3 decades. Clarence on the right and Louis in the middle have a combined 64 years of experience fighting fires in the north. So armed with nothing but shovels and gasoline, they quickly got to work.
All of a sudden, you could hear the fire in the background, really roaring, coming towards the cabin. I told my dad, I said, if we don't backburn, I said, it's going to burn down. I grabbed a 5-gallon tank of gas, I poured it around the cabin, and I lit it on fire.
We had to have an escape route, and the fire was very, very hot. It caught the trees and just blew them up like unreal.
Louis says trees exploded in the hot fire and the cabin was wrapped in a ring of flames. That's when they took off down their escape routes.
We didn't have very much time to run to the lake. We barely made it to the dock. We had to run in the water and push the boat out and get out of there. Once we got out of there, we didn't even know where we were going anyway because there was too much smoke and red ashes just flying.
It wasn't until the next morning when Clarence saw an aerial view of their property that they knew their work had paid off.
Phoned my dad right away, told him that the cabin was still up, and my mom was happy because that cabin was there for the family for the last 27 years, and all our pictures were in their photo albums, memories that we had. And if that would have burned, would have been a sad moment, and I'm just glad that it's still standing today.
Louis says he likely won't live to see this, the green forest from his cabin, but he's happy to know his children and grandchildren will have that chance. Jesse Anton, CBC News, Regina.
And time now for a look at our weather forecast, and a lot of us are focusing on this long weekend that's upon us, and for that, let's check in with Nick Cernkovich. Hey, Nick.
Hi there, Jason. Well, of course, everybody looking toward the long weekend, and if you started the long weekend early, well, you had some pretty nice weather, although we're dealing with rain right now. So that is not going to be the story heading through the next 3 days, but certainly for the next 12 hours or so, that's the wet weather we've got to deal with. Let's get into the details of it. Temperatures, pretty nice, 26 degrees in the Windsor area today. There is this line of showers, though, and thunderstorms that's sweeping across the region. This is basically the story for tonight, though, okay? And this is along a cold front that is going to drag in some slightly cooler temperatures, but it is not a washout for the weekend. And I've got to stress that because I know everybody's looking at the May 2-4 long weekend, and it's often a mixed bag. This one, not so bad. Most of the rain and the showers clearing out by sort of the mid-overnight period. By tomorrow morning, a few isolated showers. I think we might even see some hints of sunshine through the morning. Then cloud cover on the backside of this with the risk of some isolated showers, but really not much in the way of wet weather for tomorrow. Cooler, though, as we head through tomorrow afternoon. And then it clears out into Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon and Monday morning. And Monday afternoon, you've got lots in the way of sunshine. So something to look forward to over there. How much rain can we expect with this system, though? Well, we're generally looking at about 20 millimeters, give or take. Depends on where you are. Some areas will see heavier amounts, but for the most part, about 20 millimeters of rain for tonight. 11 degrees through the overnight period. This is going to come with the risk of a few thunderstorms. Most of it, though, coming from now till about the sort of 3-4 in the morning hour, and then 12 for tomorrow morning with some tapering showers. Winds still, at least in the interim, gusts to about 30, maybe 40 kilometers per hour, but those lighten up as well for tomorrow. 18 degrees, so a little cooler than seasonal for tomorrow, but we're back up again on Sunday, sunshine and 24, 23 degrees on Monday. 27 on Tuesday, although I have to say we're looking at the long weekend. I'm not sure who's considering Tuesday at this point, but if you are, lots of sunshine in the long range forecast. Jason.
Thanks so much, Nick. Still to come here on CBC Windsor News Live at 6. The Windsor Express take Game 1 of the NBL Championship. We'll bring you some of the highlights coming up next. Jim Brown, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, civil rights advocate, and actor, has died. He was 87. Brown retired at 30. At the top of his career, he led the Cleveland Browns to the league championship 3 times, winning the title in 1964, and was named MVP 3 times. He was named a Pro Bowler every year he played. His wife announced his death on Instagram, saying he died peacefully at their home in Los Angeles. Canadian sprinting icon Donovan Bailey is throwing his hat into the hockey rink, joining rapper Snoop Dogg and LA film producer Nico Sparks' bid to buy the NHL's Ottawa Senators.
I want to play my role in ensuring that I continue to be an inspiration to the next generation. I know for a fact about how it is to fill stadiums around the world. So we're going to make sure that this is the best team, the best fan base in all of the NHL.
Bailey says he had jumped at the chance of being part of the first Black-led bid to own a professional sports team. Monday was the deadline to submit offers, and the sale of the club was initiated in November after the death of Senators owner Eugene Melnyk in March 2020. And after being eliminated from the playoffs for another year, the Maple Leafs are shaking up their front office. The franchise has just announced that Kyle Dubas will not return as general manager of Toronto's NHL team. Dubas has served in that position since 2018 after joining the Maple Leafs as assistant GM 4 years earlier. His contract expires at the end of June. An emotional Dubas said at the end of season press conference Monday he wasn't sure if he would continue on as GM, citing the stress on his young family. Fans shouldn't expect Dubas to be joining another club in the short term. And the London Lightning got struck last night. Windsor Express taking an early lead in the NBL Championship Series.
7 seconds left in the game, down by 1. Haley from distance, lost the ball, tried to get it back. They scramble away for it. Billy White steals it. The Express win.
A big win for the Express in London. This is a best-of-5 series. They'll play Game 2 tomorrow night in London again. The Express are back in Windsor for Game 3 on Tuesday night. That's it for us here at CBC Windsor News live at 6. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back on Tuesday after the holiday long weekend. I hope you enjoy yours as well. Don't forget, though, for news anytime, head to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks so much for watching again, and have a great weekend.